What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Kings of Tennessee podcast. Billy is back after a week in Florida, correct?
Yeah, weekend in Florida. It was weird.
Weekend in
It was
Florida.
85 degrees down there. I'm glad to be back up here.
We are back. We are getting also close to the final regular season, final week of the regular season. That coming next week. Sad times. It is depressing to hear that come out of my mouth. But luckily, college basketball is here. We'll get into that, in a couple weeks. We're excited about that. Um, it's going to be a fun college basketball season. But football's not done yet. We're still here. We've got these 2 weeks. We'll have title game coverage. So we're not done yet. It's not dead yet. Football isn't. We got a good show. We've had a very interesting week of college football this past week. Ignore this orange back here because what they do every year. I'm gonna be depressed looking at it. So yeah, so that's a fun time. We'll get to talk about that a little bit later. Billy, how was Florida? How was everything? I know you said 85 degrees. You're glad to be back here a little bit, but how are we doing after this fun weekend?
Dude, it was good. I didn't get a chance to watch much football, which was kind of nice. I mean, Vanderbilt got blown out 46-7 by uh by South Carolina. I guess you could say I cover that team. I didn't even really watch. I mean, that's how much, and I didn't learn much. I mean, there's just it's been a disaster. So again, nothing changed really from week to week other than the margin of victory. Embarrassing. So again, didn't get a chance to watch many games. I did get back and we watched a lot of the Georgia Ole Miss game, but even that one got out of hand in the second half, and I think we watched a lot of the late games, but we did watch Tennessee Missouri a lot of that one though, and that of course didn't go well. And Chase, I was stunned. I'm sure we'll get into this more, but I was surprised, to see that. So we watched a lot of afternoon, night games. Yeah, it was weird, man. Florida State, Miami had a good one. We weren't actually wasn't too far from that game where we were, but yeah, that was close. There were some good ones, but overall, I mean, I think it was just. And then you see the Titans lose on Sunday. Like for local people, it's kind of been a rough year, man. I mean, like for Vanderbilt, it just hasn't been the same as last year. I think that's tough for a lot of Tennessee fans to take. But they're still what 7-3, Chase, 8-3,
Yeah,
uh,
7-3.
7-3. So they're going to finish 9-3. They'll get a chance to play a good bowl and try to get to 10 wins again. So um, it's tough, but yeah, overall didn't get to watch a ton, but I did, rewinded there with the highlights on Sunday and everything. So it was good.
Let's quickly get into this because this is collectively this past weekend had to be the most as collective depressing weekend for this podcast in terms of our team's performance on the field. Uh, I'm going to quickly run down Tennessee, Missouri because it was awful. Tim Banks, dude, has got to. I think he's got to go because you look at that defense and they made zero adjustments. I mean, Brady Cook and Cody Schrader tore them a new one in a way that I've never seen a quarterback and a running back do to us before. And I think if Derek Mason can at least make adjustments, bring him. Let's have him. If he can at least make one adjustment throughout a game, he'll already be better than what Tim Banks does on the regular. And Eli Drinkwitz is a dork and a clown. He's at the top of my new shit list in terms of SEC. So I'm gonna one day present my shit list because it's getting longer by the week.
Dude, Chase, it's interesting, man. I think anytime Tennessee goes on the road with Heupel against a ranked team, it's just tough. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's on Heupel. I don't know if it's on their defensive plan. I think you make a good point about Banks. Like, you know, but then again, Chase, I think I put that more on Heupel. Like Heupel at UCF, at Mizzou, with Tennessee now, they haven't had very good defenses, quite frankly. I mean, he's not a coach where you go, okay, great defense. They can go on the road and win. It's like with his overall style, I just don't think it really suits them. At home, it's like, oh, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. We're rolling. Defense kind of feeds off the offense. But I don't think there's enough offense feeding off the defense, especially against Missouri. But it's weird, Chase. We saw that in a lot of games this year with Tennessee. We saw that defense create takeaways and James Pierce and guys like that getting after the quarterback. But they looked timid. They looked like they didn't really want to be there in Columbia. The middle eight, talk about the middle eight all the time. They lost the middle eight. And, if you lose the middle eight, especially on the road against Mizzou, it's a top 10 team now, man. A top 15, that's a good team. You're just not giving yourself a chance to win. So I see what you're saying about Banks. I wonder, though, if it's more of a Heupel thing. Like, he keys so much on the offensive plan. How active is he in that defensive room? I know his skill set, that's not his skill set, but I'd like to be a fly on the wall, like in the prep for these, for big road games like Florida. Same sort of thing happened. And you just kind of sitting around going, why does this keep happening? If you're a Tennessee fan, I don't think there's any reason to give up on Josh Heupel, of course. I mean, what he's done at Tennessee, but I think there's reason to say that Heupel, fails to have his team ready in road games. I think, but you make a good point about Banks. Maybe they do need to make a move. I think Mason, that'd be a heck of an addition there. It's a good idea. Kind of ironic, former Vandy coach. He was at Auburn, of course, but it's just interesting, Chase. They go on the road against ranked teams, and I don't know. They look like a different program, and that's got to get fixed if they want to go to the next level. This, Chase. If they want to be in that 12-team playoff, because that's what we're looking at. You've got to go. You go 9-3. Like this year, Tennessee's not in that 12-team playoff. And now you can't really. Aren't any more chances. Like they had to either beat Florida or Missouri to at least have a chance. So that has to change, Chase. They got to be able to go on the road and win, like any program. But they're looking for that 12-team playoff, and right now they're not there yet. Now they can. I think Nico's a difference maker. That's what they're hoping. But yeah, I see what you're saying about Banks. We'll see if they end up making a change. But man, I was stunned to see that. I don't know if it was effort. It was. I think it was a lot of scheme. They didn't look coached well defensively specifically. Well, I mean, you could say that about the offense too, though.
I said a couple weeks ago after the Kentucky game, to one of the guys in our friend group, I said that there's a blowout coming, and I don't think it's Georgia, and I think it's Missouri. That was 2 weeks ago, right after the Kentucky game. I said I think Missouri is going to blow us out. I don't know why, but the road environment, and how good Missouri's looked offensively, I knew it was coming,
Scary.
and it was just felt like we were teetering. Tim Banks didn't look like he had the thing is like, what was his game plan? You played soft coverage. You play soft coverage every time you play a team, and you get killed on underneath routes. You can't keep playing 20 yards off of a wide receiver and then be
Yeah.
shocked when that guy is 150 yards on you because they're just running slant routes. So
Yeah.
I think it's time for Josh to go find himself a defensive coach that complements him a little bit. But we'll see. We got Georgia this weekend. That'll be I think, a bloodbath. Billy, what do you think really quickly of Vanderbilt's situation? And where's your head? Where's your head on this season? I know it's kind of been disappointing. It's been a lot worse than I thought it would be. I thought they would have at least 4 wins this year. What's your kind of your thinking right now?
Yeah. Chase, I 4 or 5 weeks ago after I don't even know, after Kentucky, I think I still held out a little bit of hope. Because what they did last year, and we talked about this, what they did last year, I think changed the perception a little bit of the program. They didn't make a bowl game, but they won 2 SEC games. That road win over Kentucky last year was their first SEC win in like 26 games. So, the fact that they did that last year, I think is what has Clark hanging on by a thread. I mean, say they go 3-9 last year, now you followed up with 2-10. I mean, they could have already. Now they gave him extension before the season, which is, I'm not as against that. I think that's sort of a Vanderbilt thing. They do like weird things like that. I don't think it really matters a ton. Like they can make a move if they wanted to make a move. Um, so yeah, it's just been bad. Like it's been really bad. And before the season, Chase, we talked about Vanderbilt making a bowl game. Like I thought Vanderbilt could make a bowl game, and I think that was my final prediction, at least on this podcast. Vanderbilt goes 6-6, competes, right? They win. I don't know if I picked them to win all four non-conference, but I think I picked them to win, 2 to 3 SEC games. At least borderline 5. At least. Same as last year. You're if anything, you're plateauing. You're not going down. They didn't just go down. I mean, they fell off a cliff, man. Like they got to make changes. Number one, on the staff, they've got to make a lot of staff changes. I think they will. They need to bring in impact transfers. How do they do that, Chase? Like everybody else, NIL, money. I mean, they have to open up the bank. And I've heard good things about it. I think I've heard some things around the program that they are going to be more strict on, I guess you call it cutting players, basically meeting with guys saying, hey, you're not going to play next year, right? We want to win. So, if you want to play, you might want to basically get out. Like you might want to go somewhere else. That's normal at every program. That hasn't really been normal at Vanderbilt. I think they're going to probably normalize things like that. I think in the staff, they need to bring in an offensive genius, because right now what they're doing just isn't working. You've got to make a change defensively. I've heard they're making a change at DC. There's going to be a lot of changes, Chase. So, that's a good thing. I mean, I think if you're a Vanderbilt fan, this offseason is going to be crazy. It's going to be more entertaining than the actual season. Now, does that actually result in year 4 and wins? Who knows? I mean, I think that's obviously the goal. But you look at their schedule next year, and it is absolutely brutal. I mean, you got to play Texas, you got to play Alabama, you got to play LSU, you got to play Georgia. I mean, my gosh, it's probably the hardest schedule in the country. So it's hard to see hope right now, Chase. I mean, we've talked about that. It's hard to see a path forward, a positive path forward. The one thing I'll say, Clark Lee, we talked about this. He played at Vanderbilt. He's from Nashville. He's a guy that, there's no one else that wants this job right now other than him. I mean, I honestly believe that. Now, there's probably some group of 5 guys that might want the promotion to be the, head coach in an SEC school, but Division I wise, there aren't many coaches that would leave their spot for Vanderbilt right now, right? Probably none. Clark Lee's the guy. I mean, he's the guy that's going to have to do it. So he's got to figure it out. They've got changes they have to be made, and we'll see. But Chase, but the feeling, it's awful. I mean, everybody feels awful. Fans, staff, players. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of messed up stuff going on. And they've got to get it fixed if they want to take the next step. And if not, Chase, they're going to be looking for another coach here in a couple of years.
It's been disappointing to watch as a Tennessee fan. I hate to see it because after last year, I think we both thought it was only up from here. But it's been a tumultuous season, and I'm interested to see how Clark Lee bounces back next year. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Especially these last couple weeks, and especially during this offseason, what happens in the portal and recruiting wise. Billy, I want to transition here a little bit to our weekly segment that we always love to present because it was something we grew up with watching on College Game Day Final. It's helmet stickers. I have my 2 helmet stickers. Billy, I'm going to let you lead off with your 2 first, and then I will give you my 2 because I have a podcast first for one of my helmet stickers.
Oh, how about that? All right. I'm going to go, I know this is so boring, but the Georgia Bulldogs. The past few weeks, we talked about this, Chase. They've gotten hot. They've found their groove. They beat Missouri. Earlier they held on against Auburn. But even in a lot of those early season games, they were kind of holding on, hanging on, but I thought that Ole Miss game on Saturday was a statement. They got Brock Bowers back after missing a month. Georgia's offensive line just absolutely dominated Ole Miss up front. Jackson Dart had no room to do really anything. Chase, they're the best team in the country. I mean, that proved it. right? I don't think you can really argue that. They beat the number 9 team in the country by, what was it, about 35, 40? I mean, just an absolute beatdown in Athens in a great atmosphere. It was fun to watch. It was close for a little bit, though. I think, I was hoping it'd be a game. I think everybody was, but I just think it was a message to everyone ranked ahead of Ole Miss that, the road to the national title still runs through Georgia. And I think Kirby's smart. Their fans, their players were waiting on that. They hadn't had a moment like that. That's why they were ranked number 2. Ohio State had the two best wins in the country, and now all of a sudden that Ole Miss win for Georgia looks like one of the best wins in the country. I mean, ninth ranked team in the country. Ole Miss is legit now. I mean, saw that firsthand. They beat up Vanderbilt. I know it's Vandy, but still, I mean, Ole Miss is good. So my first is going to be Georgia. Really impressed what I saw with them over Ole Miss. And then I was thinking around, kind of looking at scores, and you might have the same guy. I have a feeling you might. Jalen Milroe. I know I'm going SEC, but Kings of Tennessee here. We're in the South. Chase, since week 3, being benched against USF, he has completely turned this season around for Alabama. I mean, after USF, it was like, Alabama's going 8-4. They're an average team. Milroe said, nope, screw that. I'm going to go play Heisman hero ball. And, without that slow start to the season, he would be a Heisman candidate. Hell, maybe a favorite. I mean, think about it. If they beat Texas, Milroe's the Heisman favorite right now. So I just think, dude, really impressed with Milroe. Dominated Kentucky on the road, 234 yards. He ran for 36 yards. A week before against LSU, dude ran for over 200 yards. I mean, he looked like a running back, scored 4 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. He's completing a high percentage, 11 yards per attempt, 21 touchdowns. That's in the past 6 weeks, so, but almost, I like what Tommy Rees has done with him. Almost just as impressive. Tommy Rees in that offense. So I'm going to go a team, Georgia Bulldogs, and then a player, Jalen Milroe.
We were talking about this off air. It just seems like Alabama could win it again, dude. They're never dead. Um,
Yeah.
so I was checking. I had a parlay that just hit, so I was cashing money right there. I was checking to make sure that my at least I'm doing something good in terms of picks this season. But yeah, I like Georgia actually, Billy. I'm gonna follow you with Georgia. Georgia is my number 1 helmet sticker. For all the right reasons that you said. His team is heating up. They're looking more and more dominant by the week. Atlanta is gonna be fun. Like Atlanta is gonna be a really good game. It's the
Mm-hmm.
clash of titans in this conference. This is our conference. Both of our teams reside in this conference, and we have to deal with both of these teams on a yearly basis. So Georgia, I mean, they're heating up. Brock Bowers is back. What more do you need? That dude's a stud. Future Tennessee Titan Brock Bowers. I know you mentioned them earlier in the show, so we're gonna keep giving them love because they're struggling this year too. Uh, but yeah, I like Georgia. I like Georgia a lot going into the playoffs. Even if even like I think Bama beats them in Atlanta. I think we both said that before the show starts, but they're still gonna get in. They're the 2-time champ, so they're definitely getting in. But number 2, my number 2, a first for the podcast, Billy. You might like this one. It's Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh gets a helmet sticker from me because this instant we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Whatever is happening with NCAA, the clown show, the witch hunt. They came out and said, it's not Jim Harbaugh's fault. Jim Harbaugh is not to blame. The university is. But you know what? We're still going to suspend him. We're going to give him a 3-game ban for the end of the year because crying Ryan Day hiring his brother out here trying to stop Big Blue didn't work because they came in there and they showed Penn State that they're one of the best teams in the country, dude. They showed them why. That offense is so smash mouth in your face. McCarthy was like 6 of 7 for 60 or 80 yards. Dude didn't break a sweat. And they're still putting up points because that team is really, really good. And Ohio State better get ready because next weekend, dude, Big Blue's coming and crying Ryan. I don't know if he has what it takes I mean, you have their offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore, crying like Jim Harbaugh died. Like, this is the most electric atmosphere, the most chaotic Wild West thing you've ever seen at the end of that game, and it was a good time. So those are my two helmet stickers. Georgia, like Billy, and Jim Harbaugh because Michigan and go blue. Uh, we usually give our top tens here, Billy, but you know what? The Twitter page is not getting the love we need. So, as an exclusive to our Twitter page and our Twitter followers, you can find both of our top tens exclusively on Twitter. So, if you want to know what we think right now is going on in the country from top to bottom as we get closer and closer to these playoffs, you can follow us at Kings of TN Pod on Twitter. That's where the episodes go. That's where our picks go every Saturday morning, our locks, and that's where our top tens go, baby. So if you want to look at the top tens and you want to get in our heads and have a little cocktail with us on a Saturday morning as we try our best to get out of the hellhole that is Pick'em, follow us there and enjoy the ride because it's wild and it's going to get even wilder. So catch us there because that's where our episodes go. Speaking, Billy, of the black hole, the depths of hell in Pick'em, let's just get into it. It's a boring slate. And you, Billy,
Awful
everyone,
slate.
round of applause for Billy Derrick. Billy went 5-0 this past week on his picks. Round of
Wow.
applause to Billy, the first ever undefeated week on the Kings of Tennessee pod, including the lock of the week. Let's go, everybody. Everybody, we need some love. Let's get these records pulled up real quick. I had it pulled up. That's what I was working on during helmet stickers. So let's get this
Chase,
pulled.
I should have put that in a parlay and put some money on it,
Yeah,
man.
dude, you really should have because it was nuts. I was going through just a second ago updating records. I'm like, holy hell, Billy just went 5-0.
Dude,
Like
isn't it
we
crazy how that works? After you have the success, you're like, oh damn, I should have put some money on it. But going
yes,
in, you never feel good. You never have that confidence.
no. So Billy, look at Billy go. Billy is just chugging away with this record after a 5-0 week. He's back in the lock of the week win too. Me, God, dude, oh, depths of hell. I just cashed a college basketball parlay.
I love how our
So
locks of the week are the same 4 and 8.
we're still going. We're still 4-8 locks of the week. We're riding. That's what we do. But Billy, you wanna share some of that magic you got going right now? You wanna toss some of that over this way because
Well, what I did last week,
God,
I remember texting you real quick and responding because we didn't have an episode last week. I remember going back and saying, "Yep, Tennessee, Missouri's gonna kind of like you. I think Missouri's just gonna handle Tennessee," and they did. The line was 2. I mean, I had easy Mizzou +2. Michigan, Penn State's, they're a bunch of babies. I mean, they can't handle Michigan, big boy Michigan. So I had to go with Michigan -4.5. Georgia, I knew that. I mean, they were obvious, man. USC 15 is too many points. USC still good. I know it's out of Oregon, but USC still got Caleb Williams. And then South Carolina, you never bet on Vandy. I mean, so yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. It felt easy. I didn't know if I was actually going to win, but here, I'll toss you some of that magic.
I need it because I just told you that I cashed that parlay. I didn't. Another half a point loss. I need that magic. I need something, dude. Pickle. Oh, dude, this has been so
Dude,
bad.
it's
It's
tough.
it's been
It's
so
tough.
bad.
Like I said, you never have confidence going in, but after you win it, you're like, man, I should have put money on it.
All right, let's get this over with so I can also just shoot myself in the foot after week. Billy, Tennessee at home against Georgia. Georgia on the road in Neyland, 10-point favorite, over under at 58.5. What are you thinking?
I like Georgia here. Tennessee has played 2 really good teams this year, Alabama and Missouri. Both of them really exposed Tennessee. Tennessee struggles to run the ball consistently against good defensive lines. What does Georgia have? A damn good defensive line. Tennessee also has inconsistent quarterback play. You can't be consistent as an offense with Joe Milton out there. I think Georgia can expose Tennessee. I think they can get pressure on Milton. I don't think Tennessee is really going to be able to run the football. Although Chase, I think there's a slight avenue where Joe Milton has a great game. He's chucking around the yard. Tennessee's crowd gets into it. I just don't think it's enough. Like, I don't think this is a blowout. I think I could see something where it's, 28-21, fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter, Georgia scores late to push it back out to cover. Like, I could easily see a backdoor cover from Georgia here. So no, I think it's going to be respectable, but in 10, if this was 13-14, I'd be thinking about it. But since it's 10, I like Georgia. Something like 34, I don't know, 34-21. What's the over under in that, Chase?
58.5.
I'll go under. Yeah, 34-21. Georgia beats Tennessee. Georgia covers, and I will go under 58.
It's gonna be a blowout. We're gonna get stomped. I've accepted that. I've accepted the fact that the season is kind of on ice, and I'm cool with it. I didn't have high expectations coming into this year, and it is what it is. That being said, Tennessee plus 10 is my pick. Because why not, dude? Why not? Well, let's just go for it. Whatever. I'm gonna go over 58.5 because Tennessee's defense is awful, and this Georgia offense is pretty good. And that's what scares me is if Tennessee had 3 plays in the first quarter against Missouri, and you could see it, just because Missouri dominated the time of possession pretty much the whole game, and Georgia's going to do the same. So yeah, it is what it is. I hate this game so much, but yeah, Tennessee to cover, backdoor, please. But yeah, I like over 58.5. And I think it's going to be a massacre. But Tennessee still plus 10. Speaking of games that are kind of fun, actually really fun, Louisville taking on the Miami Hurricanes. This is a first. I saw the spread, and I've never seen a spread like this. Louisville right now is plus half a point against Miami, so we'll call it a pick 'em. Vegas really can't figure out who they want to go here, so they decided to go Louisville the underdog, just a slight underdog, over under of 46.5. I'm gonna take Louisville plus the half. I know basically they're just picking Louisville to win at that point, the way that spread works. So give me Louisville, and I'm gonna go under 46.5. I don't see this game. I don't see either of these two teams scoring that much. I don't think they're great offensively. Miami took Florida State to the limit last week, but I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's a road game for Louisville. Louisville's bad on the road, so you could go Miami here, but I'm gonna go Louisville for the hell of it because, like you said, I'm not gonna put that much thought into it. I'm gonna reverse what I would usually pick.
Yeah, Louisville's favored here, right?
This morning they weren't, but I will double check real quick for you. Very quickly. I'm on FanDuel.
How,
Shout out FanDuel.
I'm seeing on CBS they are a 1.5 point favorite.
Okay. All right. So I will take that line. I'll take Louisville 1.5.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just making sure. So yeah, I'll take that too. Who knows, man? This could fluctuate still. I think, like you said, I think it did. But again, who knows? This is basically a pick 'em, right? Miami Chase, I don't know. We've had them, I think, maybe a couple of times. They've been tough to bet on. I think I saw they're 3-1 against the spread as an underdog, but they're only 3-3 as the favorite. So they've been remarkably inconsistent. They played Florida State close last week with a freshman quarterback, but they got blown out by NC State the week earlier. So you just don't know what you're going to get, from Mario Cristobal's team. I think this game is probably decided by Louisville's run defense, the run defense. They're 9th nationally in yards allowed per play. Really, really good defense. So I like Louisville here. I think, usually we're talking about Jeff Brom and that offense, but I think Louisville's defense steps up, and I think they roll into, that ACC title against Florida State with, Chase, nobody's talking about it, but a chance to punch their ticket to the playoff potentially, right? If they went out, they beat Florida State in the ACC title, that would be a 12-1 season, conference champ in the ACC. Tough team to leave out. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself there, but I like Louisville minus 1.5 here.
Yeah, Louisville's not getting any love when it comes to the playoffs. So yeah, I can see that happening. Louisville is a dark horse right now.
I
And
mean,
if
think
you
about it, man. I know they have a, who did they lose to?
uh
I forget who
Pitt,
they lost to.
is it Pitt? I think it's Pittsburgh. Pretty sure it's
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
yeah. See, that might keep them out. And then they had a close one with Virginia.
Hmm.
Um, but man, I don't know. We'll see. Again, I wouldn't predict them to get in, but keep an eye on them.
Another closely contested spread this weekend. Two good teams, two ranked teams. Pac-12 again. We love Pac-12 here at the Kings of Tennessee podcast. Arizona taking on Utah. Utah right now, the 1 point underdog. Over under set at a kind of weird 44 and a half. Billy, Utah, Arizona. Where's your head at here?
Man, I have no clue. I mean, I want to say Utah because of Kyle Whittingham and and what he's built there. Um, I know this is at Utah, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Arizona, they've been a team. I think it feels like they've played 3 games in a row these last few weeks at night, late on ESPN. I mean, every damn Saturday night I'm tuning in to Arizona late, beating, upsetting somebody at home. I think it kind of runs out on them, Chase. They won't be at home. I love what they're doing. I think Jed Fish is a great coach. Um, but give me Arizona here. What was the line there?
One.
One, yeah. Not Arizona. Give me Utah. I just said that wrong. Give me Utah -1 and pretty easy. I think they'll get back on track. Arizona's not. I mean, they're explosive, but I don't. They're not Oregon, Washington level explosive. There aren't many teams that are, but I don't know. I'm going to rely on the coaching and the physicality and the defense of Utah to beat Arizona at home.
You have a play on over under here, 44 and a half. Or are we leaving that alone this week? I mean,
Uh, Let me, dude. Honestly, 44. Gonna go over there.
over 45. Okay, over 44 and a half. I like it. Some of these over unders, I don't know if I'm gonna touch them or not because they were weird. Uh, I'm gonna I'm gonna go Arizona -1. I think Arizona's playing really good football. I think Jed Fish is my coach of the year, in terms of what this program has been and what they're doing this year. He's a dark horse candidate for that award. I tweeted that out Saturday. Close game against Colorado, but the games before that, three ranked teams that they knocked off. They're ranked. See, I like Arizona here -1. I'm gonna go with you over 44 and a half. I think it's Pac-12. You're gonna get high scoring games every time these two teams play. Utah's defense is really good though, so that scares me a little bit. But I'm gonna go over 44 and a half. Maybe some defensive touchdowns. Billy, you mentioned Washington and Oregon. This next game is kind of Washington and Oregon. Washington taking on Oregon State. This is weird. Here's a weird line for you. Oregon State is favored in this game. Oregon State -2.5 against the Washington Huskies, over under 63 and a half. This is pretty easy. Just lock of the week already. This is my lock of the week. Washington +2.5. It's easy. What are we doing? I know Oregon State's really good, but Washington's offense is really, really, really good. It's unbelievable. I don't think they get past Oregon in this Pac-12 title game, but they get past their little brother in Oregon State. Give me the Huskies +2.5. Lock of the week. This pick and under 63 and a half. I'm feeling the under in this game. Weirdly.
This might be the first lock war. Probably not. I think we've done this maybe one other time. But Chase,
Last week.
okay, we did it last week, dude. Oregon State, man. Jonathan Smith has done a hell of a job. He went there. I think he played there. Um, I just love them in this spot. I mean, Washington, the last several weeks has been so close to losing. And I think this is where it all just snaps. I mean, who would want to play Oregon State in Corvallis on a Saturday night? Prime time, bright lights. That place is going to be buzzing. And they would love nothing more than to beat Washington, who's leaving the Pac-12, Pac-2 for the Big Ten. Oregon State is a team that got screwed out, right? They're going to be stuck with Washington State with all those other Mountain West teams to form whatever conference they're going to call that. So Oregon State, man, I love this spot. They're not explosive, but I like DJU and what he's done at home in home games this year. Um, I think the Beavers they have a good defense, man. I think they can deal with Washington's attack. That's going to be tough. I think you might see some points, just because you're playing Washington. Um, just as importantly, though, Oregon State's offense is built to slow Washington's down, right? So Oregon State has an offense that, they're not going to be Oregon. They're not going to go up and down the field, I don't think. They want to slow it down. I think they run the football well. They play at a really slow pace. So because of that, give me Oregon State here, um, minus the one. I think they win. I think it's close. I think it's really close. I think it's high scoring. Um, and Chase, screw it, man. Give me the over. I think you'll see a lot of points. I think Oregon State comes to play. So I'm basically doing the polar opposite of what you just did. So we'll see, man. We'll see Saturday night, Oregon State, Washington. I can't wait to text you after that game and see what happened.
That's a good trend. Fading me is a very good idea. Like just in anything anymore. Like Fade Chase needs to trend everywhere on Twitter. Fun stat for the show. This is our third straight week of a lock battle. We had Clemson Notre Dame, then we had Georgia Ole Miss. So right now we're 1-1 in the last
This is
two lock
where this is
battles.
where it turns right here.
This is big. This is now that I'm thinking about it, this is massive. Who one ups each other in locks of the week? That's gonna be fun. I know I mentioned Billy little brothers about Oregon and Oregon State. Let's talk about two of Tennessee's little brothers. Last game on the slate, Kentucky versus South Carolina. South Carolina right now a 1.5 dog, over under a 54.5. Billy, what are my little brothers doing this weekend? What's your thoughts?
Man, I like South Carolina in the spot. What this is gonna be a weird game. I like weirdly want to watch this really bad. Um, but playing Vanderbilt has sort of given teams a boost this year. I think it gave Auburn a boost, a confidence boost. Um, and I just think you've seen it in the past. So give me South Carolina. I think they've got a little bit of momentum after a couple of wins. They beat Jacksonville State. They beat Vandy. Of course, not the best wins, but um, Spencer Rattler at home, he's almost unbeatable. Like most teams don't go into Columbia and beat Spencer Rattler. Um, I think he could easily just pick apart Kentucky's secondary that's been pretty bad. It's a night game at Williams-Brice. Carolina doesn't lose those very often. Give me the Gamecocks +2 and the over.
Kentucky has been destroyed the last 2 weeks. Georgia beat the piss out of them. Alabama followed that up by beating the piss out of them. And I think I like Kentucky here just because of that. I mean, there's no way you can get your ass handed to you 2 weeks by really good teams and then go into South Carolina and get beat again. If Mark Stoops does that, Kentucky could be in an all-time low because Kentucky does this every year. They start 6-0 and everyone's thinking, "Oh my gosh, guys, Kentucky is really good." And then they fall apart. Like literally every year, it's impressive that they keep doing this. It's like the 80th straight year. It was like, dude, trust me, Kentucky 6-0, really, really good. It's like, no, just give them time. I promise you, give them time. And we've given them time, and they're bad. Again, they do this every freaking year. But they're gonna make me happy this week because I like Kentucky here. -1.5 or what? Yeah, minus. You had two. I'll take -2 there. Because Shane Beamer's a clown. Shane Beamer, uh, is gonna get fired at some point. Like Jimbo got canned. Thank goodness he's gone. Uh, and Shane Beamer, the next clown to go. There's three clowns. One just got fired, so there's two remaining. One of them will not get fired for a very long time. The other, Kentucky, do it to us. Come on, get him out. Let's go. I like Kentucky here. -1.5. And the battle of little brothers for the Big Orange. Man, it's been a fun show, Billy. We've had some energy. It's been a good time. It's late, and I'm gonna go get another cup of coffee to just spice me up a little bit because lock of the week battle this week, everybody. It's
Yeah.
here. It's coming. Rocky versus Apollo Creed, part 3. Which one is gonna be Rocky? Who's gonna be Apollo Creed? have a feeling it's going to be me losing because that's my luck. Hashtag fade chase, trend it, get it going, know it, and love it. That's going to do it for us. We will catch you guys next week for Rivalry Week. We might have a little surprise in the works. We're working on it. It's going to be a fun week next week. Tennessee Vanderbilt next week. I'm going to be sad. We're both going to be sad filming that episode because my team's going to be coming off a loss. And there's a good chance I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna call an upset yet. But there's something in the works next week. We'll get it going. Basketball's coming up. It's crazy. Life is hectic. Thank you guys so much. Follow us on Twitter. That's where this episode goes. We will see you guys next week.